So a court freeze has finally made the ANC pay its debts, but it has raised a new question. Is South Africa's ruling party running out of money? Today we're unpacking the ANC's financial reckoning, Coca-Cola's takeover that could reshape Africa's drinks markets, and Eskom's overdue move to make solar more accessible to South Africans. Plus, in the Wildcard, the Cape of Good Hope, and how a near disaster became one of the world's most famous names. My friends, if you are enjoying the show, be sure to like and subscribe. And now, with all that out the way, let's get into it. So the ANC's latest court drama may be over, but it has exposed something bigger. A liberation movement on the brink of insolvency. You see, after 6 years of dodging an 85 million rand debt over campaign material, the party only acted when the judge froze its bank accounts and sheriffs began hauling furniture out of the Luthuli house. I am not kidding. And so within days, the ANC folded and settled out of court. Proof that when the taps run dry, even the ruling party moves fast. But this isn't just about one debt. See, the party still faces shrinking donations, unpaid salaries, and mounting bills from previous campaigns. Insiders admit that creditors now demand guarantees before taking on ANC work. And analysts say that the question isn't whether or not the ANC is broke, it's how long it can avoid formal insolvency proceedings, which would reportedly block it from receiving over 1 billion rand in public and private funding. So for now, the settlement buys time, but it also sets a precedent. You see, if judges keep freezing accounts to enforce accountability over these political debts, the ANC's next crisis might not end in a quiet deal, but rather in a full financial lockdown. Because hey, in the end, the surest way to make sure power listens is to cut off their money. Everyone knows Coca-Cola, but the biggest news isn't what's inside the can, it's who's putting it there. You see, Coca-Cola Hellenic Bottling Company, the Swiss-based group behind Coke across Europe and Nigeria, has announced a 60 billion rand deal to buy 75% of Coca-Cola Beverages Africa, the company that bottles Coke for most of the continents, including South Africa. So once complete, it will become the second largest Coca-Cola bottler in the world, covering more than 50% of Africa's population. And the company also plans a secondary listing on the JSE, potentially the biggest in a decade. For South Africa, that's a major boost of confidence. You see, the new owners say that the move is about growth, not job cuts, promising fresh investment in local capacity and communities. But in saying that, some unions aren't so sure, warning that the recent restructuring at Coca-Cola South Africa already threatened hundreds of roles. Analysts also know that the deal, which is largely debt-funded, adds financial pressure at a tricky time in the global markets. Still though, if approvals go, South Africa will become the group's single largest market. A rare bit of good news for the JSE and proof that when it comes to Coke, Africa's become the real thing. Eskom's made going solar a little less painful and a lot less expensive. You see, until now, households had to hire a professional engineer, often costing 20 grand or more, just to sign off on their solar systems before Eskom could register them. Now that rule has been scrapped. So from this month, qualified installation electricians can handle the sign-off instead, cutting compliance costs by up to 90%. Now, groups like Alta and AfriForum have long argued that the engineer rule just made no sense. You see, the tests involved could easily be done by an electrician, and the extra layer of bureaucracy wasn't required by law. Eskom quietly agreed after reviewing the safety standards with the South African Bureau of Standards, saying that the simpler process is just as safe. And the timing matters. Thousands of South Africans are adding rooftop panels to escape the high tariffs and unreliable supply. Yet many have never registered their systems because the process was either too costly or complex. Now, removing the engineer step not only saves money, it makes the legal grid connection easier, helping Eskom to track and manage both voltage and safety. Critics say it's overdue, but for solar users, it's finally a policy that makes sense. And before we cruise on to our Bagel Bite of the day, here's a couple other headlines worth knowing. For starters, tourism income rose 9.6% year-on-year in August, down slightly from July's 10.7%. Now, hotels remained the standout, with income up 13.2% and occupancy topping 54%. Analysts say that solid travel demand is offsetting weak domestic spending. The Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Tour is coming to South Africa this December, with the world's top 25 players, including Magnus Carlsen, competing in the Grootbos Private Nature Reserve near Hermanus. An online resale platform, Yaga, which dominates South Africa's second-hand fashion market, has raised 80 million rand from global investors, including H&M Group Ventures. The platform has nearly doubled annually, reselling over 6 million items and paying out 1.6 billion rand to sellers worldwide. And on to our Bagel Bite of the day. Let's see what you got. The question is, which city is known as the Eternal City? Is it A, Athens, B, Rome, or C, Jerusalem? Bonus points if you know why. And on to our wildcard section. So why do we call it the Cape of Good Hope? Probably not for the reason you think. You see, when the Portuguese explorer Bartolomeu Dias first rounded the tip of Africa in 1488, he didn't call it hopeful. He called it Cabo das Tormentas, the Cape of Storms. The violent winds, swirling currents, and crashing waves nearly destroyed his fleet. And for years, sailors treated it as the most dangerous corner of the ocean. But back in Lisbon, King John II saw something else in Diaz's discovery. A breakthrough. You see, the voyage proved that there was a sea route around Africa to India, the dream that had obsessed Europe's traders for generations. So as a result, he renamed it to a Portuguese term that I cannot pronounce, but it translates to the Cape of Good Hope, because it offered hope that Portugal could finally reach the riches of the East. Over time, though, the royal optimism took on a new meaning. You see, for sailors who followed Diaz, Good Hope wasn't just about reaching India. It was the faith required to survive the storms themselves. So yeah, it was a name born from ambition that centuries later came to symbolize something much deeper: endurance against the odds. And as for that Bagel Bite, the answer is Rome, a nickname that goes back more than 2,000 years, born from the belief that no matter how empires rose or fell, Rome itself would last forever. Look, 2 millennia later, the ruins still stand. And so does the idea. And my friends, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is your weekly reminder that if you do prefer your news on the go, whether you're running or driving or touring the Colosseum, you can find us on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Links to both those are either in our description below or our bio. Hope you guys all have a great day. Be kind to one another. We'll catch you all tomorrow for the next round of the good stuff. God bless.